Hello and welcome to TV on TV. I'm Representative Tommy Vitolo. You're watching Brookline Interactive Group. My guest today is Kathy Bisbee, the Executive Director of Brookline Interactive Group. But before we go there, of course, we stay here and we focus on all the news that's fit for print, but hasn't been printed necessarily because you're watching it on television. So here, where do we start? Well, we start with this coming Tuesday is September 1st. First of the month means a lot of things for a lot of people, but it also means Election Day in Massachusetts. It's the primary day. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you have received a ballot by mail, you don't want to put it in the mail at this point, but you can bring it to Town Hall, and there's a drop box right outside the Town Hall at 333 Washington Street. You slide it right in there. And your vote is good to go. And you can also vote on Election Day. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. A few of the polling locations have changed, just as they had changed in the June election. And so you want to go to the town clerk's office and confirm. But if you're in precinct 3, you're now at the Coolidge Corner School. If you're at precincts 7 and 10, you're at the high school. And if you're at precinct 15, you're now at Baker School. Again, you want to go to the town clerk's website for more details on that. Other news, Sharon Abramowitz, school committee member, has resigned. No scandal to speak of. She has taken a job that will bring her to Hong Kong. And in the meantime, she's actually moved out of town. And so there is a vacancy. As per state law, the school committee and select board have a joint vote to fill that vacancy. If you are interested, you need to get in touch with the school administration office or the select board office and follow up, and do so quickly because they'll move on this, I think. Town Hall continues to open to the public, but you're probably going to need an appointment. So be thoughtful, plan ahead, maybe go to the website, give a phone call, make sure you've got yourself in order so you don't have to make 2 trips. This weekend is Massachusetts sales tax holiday weekend. Of course, some things are already sales tax exempt, like food and relatively inexpensive clothing. But this weekend, nearly everything is tax-free. The exemptions, the things that still have sales tax are things that cost over $2,500. Vehicles, restaurant meals still have a tax, but most things are tax-free. Personally, I'm not a fan. I think we should be charging tax. I don't understand the concept, but if you are going to take advantage of this and not pay sales tax this weekend in Massachusetts, I urge you to do it in Brookline. Spend those dollars in Brookline, shop locally. And if you're watching us on the internet out in Pittsfield, shop locally in Pittsfield. That's good too, right? Finally, the last bit of news you may have heard, the Republican National Convention is this week. They have nominated Donald Trump to be their candidate for the presidential election for 2020. So look for him on the ballot on November 3rd. Before that, again, focus on September 1st. We've got a big election coming up. I encourage you to make sure your vote counts. And without further ado, let's talk with Kathy. Kathy, welcome to the show. This may be your first time working on television in the biz. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You're going to want to start by unmuting yourself and welcome to the show.
I'm really nervous. I've never been on camera before. It's a new experience for me. I just tweeted out here, so now we've got a picture of us on Twitter, and that kind of represents my life these days. I am tweeting while talking on a show, while being interviewed, while helping my colleagues. It's been a really, really fun spring and summer. Exciting. So I'm
sorry, I wasn't listening. I was responding to your tweet.
Were you retweeting it, I hope. I want to thank you for having me on the show. And also, I actually want to take this opportunity to really thank you for always being an ally of BIG and understanding the work that we do and how important it is to keep democracy transparent at the hyperlocal level. And I also want to thank you for jumping up during COVID and reaching out to me and asking how you could do your own show. And it's been wonderful to watch you grow as a producer at Big TV and you've done some really important community work on television, on cable television, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. So thank you for all the work that you've been doing.
Well, and for a guy with a face for radio, I'm grateful for the accolades. I do want to talk about Big though. I want to begin by helping viewers understand how Brookline Interactive institutionally behind the camera changed beginning in March so that you could continue putting out television programs, continue to put things on the web, but within the confines of COVID. What are the kinds of changes that you went through?
Well, viewers might notice that my internet is a little slow because I'm out here in Western Mass. My husband and I have a house in Holyoke. He runs Northampton Open Media, which is Northampton Community Television, formerly known as. And so we are running quite an operations center here from our Holyoke home to continue operating Big and him operating Northampton as well. The first couple of weeks were pretty tough, were pretty rocky, and we had to really adapt to the new situation. And of course, it's evolving all the time. We have 4 staff people that have been working during COVID. A couple of our part-timers dropped off pretty quickly. And we had 1 staff person who had to go back to Denver, Colorado. We have another staff person in Framingham, another one in the suburbs. And managing all of the needs that the community has been asking for since March, really March 16th was the first day for us, has been really challenging. But I want to thank our staff and the team at the town and the schools for making sure that it went off without a hitch. We had one little bubble that first little bump that first morning, and we learned a lot of things and did a lot of training of city and town and school staff and other folks in the community to make sure that we have not had really any snafus since well after COVID began.
Well, and I want to thank a few of the staff members who have been so helpful to me. We've got on camera, this is Andrew. No, this is Corbin. Sorry, Corbin. You can tell by the goatee. This is Andrew right here, full beard. You'll note the headset as well as the headband. I'm not sure what that's all about.
Yep.
But he's a tech guy. And I've got Ann over here too. Here's Ann.
You know, today is actually Ann's birthday.
I got the hair. That's pretty good for Ann in terms of Lego hair.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Ann's birthday's today, actually, so we should give her a shout out for a
happy birthday, Ann. Thank you for all that you do, directing the programs this way and that. I've taken a lot of direction from Ann. She's like, hey, Thursday, get it done. I'm tired of this nonsense. So I do the best I can. So you know, most viewers know this now, but to remind you, right, we're not in the studio. We're not in front of the green screen. We don't have that control room. We're doing things via Zoom and kind of patching things together. And I think that I thank the viewers for their patience with that. The upside is travel, and it can be easier to get guests. The downside is, you know, we don't have the quality cameras, and we don't have the quality sound systems, and we have spotty bandwidth. And that's not a reflection on Big, but that's what it looks like over the airs for Big, and that's part of us living in the times we're in now, and we can't wait to get back. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I do want to talk about maybe make folks aware. Kathy, could you tell us what Big has done to support local government operations in the past 6 months? Right now that folks aren't meeting in person.
Yeah.
My understanding is Big has played an important role making sure that that's legal and effective. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, and this is really where we have shown this year is adapting to these new conditions and making sure that local government is transparent. There's been a tremendous amount of activity in Brookline, especially. My husband and I sit around and compare Brookline to Northampton, and Brookline is such an active community, and folks are really concerned and want to make sure we're doing the right thing. So there's been a ton of meetings. We've done over 400 government and school meetings. And I can't even begin to tell you how many hours. Some of those meetings were 10 hours. And additionally, we did the town meeting, and we'll be doing the next one in November. We did the high school graduation. We did a number of forums about COVID and from government sources, from with communities of faith. We've been meeting for, I think, something like 24 weeks with the Small Business Development Committee at the town that Raul Fernandez has been really leading, along with members of the town. And we've been there every single Thursday morning at 8:30 to set up that meeting and make sure that folks have a forum where they can talk about the things that are coming up for them during this, these COVID times that we're living in. So it's too numerous, honestly, to tell you everything that we've been doing. It's, I would say on average, we have 12 to 17 meetings a week that we're covering. And thankfully, August, we've had a week or two in August where we've only had, maybe 10 hours of meetings to cover. So we're glad the school committee and the select board took a little bit of a break, maybe 1 or 2 meetings off, but it's been nonstop. In addition, it's not just that we're actually recording the Zoom, in some cases training people on the Zoom, helping to manage the Zoom. We're also doing things like helping to manage public comment, which is not a role we ever had before, and not a role that I really want us to be in, because we are a nonpartisan organization and we're not city and government staff, town and government staff. We are an independent nonprofit organization. So we really want to make sure we stay in a neutral voice, which is part of why we didn't do candidate interviews for the 4th district race. And we're so happy that you brought that up as a great show idea. And that's been a great contribution, along with the League of Women Voters Forum that happened and the Brookline for Racial Equity, Racial Justice and Equity Forum that happened, which we broadcast out to 7 other stations in the 4th Congressional District as well. So I think this is some of the most important work that I've done in my lifetime. And I've done a lot of political work and been working for a lot of amazing candidates and elected officials. But I think being able to be a trusted source for local government process, and to be able to have folks tune in and witness democracy and also talk about it. We've had a new bonus of having these meetings be live and be contentious, and for people to be speaking out, because people are commenting on YouTube. People are watching Facebook. They're doing watch parties about local government. And it's an exciting time for me, because I see a level of civic engagement that I haven't seen before. I mean, especially in June, when George Floyd's murder happened, being able to really give folks in the community a voice I literally, in one case, gave a high school, so this is something I never would have done before COVID, honestly. I gave a high school student a live feed on our cable channels via her Facebook account and let her do whatever she wanted to with it, which is, you worry about that sometimes because you do have FCC regulations and rules. But I think it was important in that moment to make sure that our community had direct access to us in that way and could use Big and our cable channels and our online presence as a platform to speak about the issues that were important to them and to facilitate community dialogue. And I hope and I think that's what most of our 1,500 sister stations all around the country are doing as well, in response to both the pandemic and the societal unrest that we're facing.
And you didn't even mention covering town meeting, right? Which was another real challenge, really complicated to put together. And of course, Big had an important role, if for no other reason than because town meeting has to be available to the public. And it was not pragmatic to allow the general public to come onto the Zoom chat, but they had to be able to watch. And so, lots of things there. But in addition to government, I think that there's no question Big has played an important role for the community at large in the last 6 months in solving COVID-related problems that had never come up with before. And so the example I'm thinking of off the top of my head is the high school graduation and Big's role there. I'd love for you to walk us through what high school graduation I know it was a tremendous amount of work for you and your team and incredibly stressful to put it all together. But, you know, the wonders of television is people don't see the staff of 15 people in my office right now making this work. They just see the stars. So tell us about what it was like for the stars, what it was like for the high school graduates, and what did people watch on television see that they only get to see?
You know, weeks of planning meetings, weeks and weeks of planning meetings, because there was so much uncertainty at that point. We didn't really know, you know, we would get together with the school folks and we would say, well, what's the health department going to let us do? We don't know. They don't know. So we had to devise a couple different scenarios. And, you know, fortunately, we were talking to other media centers around the country. You know, both Ian, myself, and my husband have been on the national board for our industry. And so we've been in the industry for a long time. So we have really strong relationships with folks. So we were able to set up Zoom conversations. We actually, both Ian and Corbin and myself spoke on a couple panels, and Andrew too, to talk about, hey, how are you doing your school graduation? And we got a really great idea from Winchester Community Media, who said, hey, do a preview video for the parents and the kids so that they know what to expect. And so Corbin went out there with Melanie Alexander from the high school and shot this great preview video so that students knew, when you drive up to the high school, here's the first station, here's the second station, here's the the next station. This is where your parents can be and cannot be. So just having to really think spend a lot of time thinking through those kinds of decisions and those kinds of directions for the community. So that's what was going on behind the scenes. And then of course, keeping our staff safe, keeping their staff safe, keeping the kids safe. And I have to say, that was also one of the highlights of my career, watching these kids walk across a stage, which was in front of the high school, wave at their family, who had adorned their cars with all kinds of balloons and paint on the car windows. It was just so cool. And you could just see their joy. And, I can't even imagine what it would be like to graduate from high school right now, or to go back to college right now. And so the fact that we are able to provide some joy in person and have a live shoot, thanks to Broadcast Picks, Russ Whitaker, who lives locally from Broadcast Picks, actually set us up with a system so that we could make sure that that entire graduation was streamed live for, was it 4 hours, I think? So the drive-through was 4 hours. And then additionally, behind the scenes, Corbin was working with a number of different folks at the high school. Kenny Kozel was one of those from Performing Arts, to give us different pieces of content that we could then stitch together. And I think there were 20 different digital assets that came together for that high school graduation. In addition to the car drive-through graduation, was also this pre-produced piece. We had people come into the studio. We interviewed people outside. We actually worked with our sister station up in Oregon to get the lieutenant governor of, Vermont, similar. The lieutenant governor of Vermont, we worked with Onion Valley Media up there, who's the community television station, and they interviewed him on site and got a great high quality video so that we wouldn't have to do it over Zoom, that he then was able to speak at the graduation. He's a Brookline grad. So a lot of things came together, but it was a tremendous amount of work, and it went off without a hitch. And so kudos to the whole team at BHS and to the health department for letting it happen, to the police department for making sure everyone was safe out there. We had thousands of viewers, by the way, on YouTube live.
Yeah, and some of us were even there live, at least for part of it. Yeah, and there was a lot going on, and like I think a lot of productions that end up on television, if you see it live, you don't quite understand exactly how this is going to work on TV, and then you see it on the screen, and it's really clever, the angles and where the cameras were, and thinking about the lighting and all of these other details. What about programmatic changes, right? And so have you seen any change in the kinds of things people want to see, change in the kinds of things people want to put on television, produce, star, direct, and film? What's different in terms of what I'll find when I'm tuning into Big now, as opposed to 6 months or a year ago in terms of content?
Well, it's been kind of amazing. People, I think, because of the situation that we're in, have realized the value of Big as a communication tool. And that's been really exciting to see. So we have, Brookline Rotary is giving us, Joyce Graff is giving us a weekly Brookline Rotary show. We've got, of course, your show. We had a ton of content around Juneteenth. The library gives us 3 live programs a week, children's books, and we have gentle yoga that's coming back this month. In fact, we've been partnering with the Senior Center and with CAN and with the Brookline Music School. So I think what's happened really, the Brookline Bees, the sewing groups, and of course the Welcome Blanket folks have been giving a lot of content. We even had town meeting members record their precinct meetings, which is something we never had in the past. And why shouldn't that be on cable television? Why shouldn't that be transparent and accessible to everyone online? I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced was with our youth program. While we've had an ongoing youth program, we had received a grant from the Community Foundation and from the Ramsey McCluskey Foundation to run youth programs. Very difficult to run youth programs for teenagers over Zoom over the summer. We had, I would say, about 2/3 of our youth, all of whom were in the Steps to Success program. I would say about 2/3 of them did not have reliable internet access. And so we really saw the digital divide that we talk a lot about and do a lot of work towards trying to bridge. But we really saw it loud and clear. And we saw this issue around equity in terms of technology access. So we then created Zoom kits so people can actually come and check out a Zoom kit from us. We do curbside checkout of all of our camera equipment, VR equipment, and our new Zoom kit. So you can actually check out a Zoom kit and get, a nice little light like this one I have here that helps light up your face a little bit better. We have even computers that you can check out. So we wanted to make sure that nobody was being left behind in terms of media and media arts and media making, and making sure that everyone had a voice. And I think with the youth program, we really saw some challenges with that we had to overcome. But we did get tons of amazing content from those youth this summer. They made PSAs and posters, design posters for Black Lives Matter and for issues around diversity and inclusion in their communities and in the world. So we saw an awful lot of great content from them as well. We also had 2 youth. I have to brag because we had 2 youth from Ann's youth program. That was Ann that ran that youth program, Untitled. Aspen Johnson and Jesse Gibbons. They have been in Ann's youth open door youth program this last year, and they did an awesome piece, which I believe you had a cameo in around the climate strike, the youth climate strike back in September. And we went with them on the T and filmed on the T and filmed in the plaza. And they spent a long time editing. And Jesse and Aspen are 12. And they did an amazing job with I think Ann and their moms really helping to support them on that project. And they won a national award, part of the Hometown Youth, the Hometown Media Awards, which they won a category for youth doing environmental and social justice work. So we're really proud of them and the fact that these youth programs can continue even under the pandemic and really address needs that the community is bringing to us. We also have the churches. I don't know if you've mentioned that. In fact, I think you actually gave me the idea for the St. Mary's because you had noticed that they were doing some of their mass online. And so we've had them since, I think, the Easter service. And we've been doing Temple Ohabe as well. And we had Temple Zion for a while also. So every Friday night, we have Shabbat services live from their Facebook feed straight to our cable channels. I mean, these are things that people just didn't think of before COVID. And I have to say, I'm really glad that the necessity and the needs of the community in the moment have really enabled us to show people the real value of organizations like ours that exist all across the country. But we are fortunate to still have in Brookline. We've lost a lot of our media centers around the country And we've gotten a lot of community support, and we hope that we'll continue to get that support and that involvement.
And I do want to bring that up, right? The future of Big. Many folks may not know that a significant portion of Big's funding comes from fees associated with folks who subscribe to cable television. And a lot of folks are cutting cable. They're finding other ways to find media that fits their needs. And as a result, community access television is seeing funding cuts. It's not the only reason why. I can, talk at length about my view of the politics of it. But the fact of the matter is, it's getting harder and harder. So what is the future of Big, and how are you going to continue to have the resources to be such an important part of the Brookline community?
Well, we have our first really strong fundraising committee. Eric Hyatt, a former select board member candidate, has signed on to be our fundraising chair. We're going to be doing a lot of fundraising this fall. We had started to ask for funding for things that we normally had done for free. We do a lot of production work for the community at no cost at all. And so about a year and a half ago, we started charging for memberships, still very affordable, $50 a year for people to become a member of Big. We've seen some people sign up on Patreon and just give a recurring donation to Big. We've gone after really large grants, and because of the innovative work that we've done with the Public VR Lab, which is our project, was the first publicly funded virtual reality lab in the country, we've been able to attract some of the national funders, but have a lot of challenges because a lot of those funders see Brookline as very wealthy, and that we shouldn't have to be going after the national grants for that. We should be finding those resources in our own community. And, we haven't wanted to compete with other local nonprofits. We want to make sure we're supporting the nonprofits. We're doing a fundraising, we're doing the whole fundraising effort on Zoom for the Brookline Pantry, the food pantry, at no cost at all. We don't want to compete with them because right now people need food. So I think as we continue to lose cable funding, we lost about $50,000 this year, we will have to ask for funding, and we will have to ask for the kind of support that we've been able to give other nonprofits and the community and the leadership of the community. We'll have to ask for that funding down the road.
We've got just a few minutes left. You got any other projects you were working on? Anybody on the team's working on? What are you doing on the side?
We have some fun things. Corbin's working on a 9/11 memorial right now. He's working with that committee. We're going to be talking to Lloyd Delano about a upcoming Martin Luther King Day event. We are working on Ann's been doing a senior center, Goddard House, Hebrew Jewish Life paper program. So we've been putting out a list of all of our programs. So you can actually now view our television channels completely 100% online from morning till night. We're on 24 hours a day. So you can go to our website, just updated the website too, hoping that it'll be a little bit easier for people to navigate. And I think I'm very excited because we have announced about a month ago our new crowdsourced movie, which, Legos like you and your kids are making would be great for a scene from Castaway with Tom Hanks. So if anyone knows Tom Hanks, I just want to put this out there. If anyone knows Tom Hanks, please ask him to do a scene in our version of Castaway for us. I mean, how cool would that be? So anyone in the community can make their own.
Yeah, I'll make a call. I'll call Conan O'Brien, who probably knows somebody who knows somebody. We'll figure it out.
We can have Conan make a scene. That'd be great.
That would also be good. Maybe not great. It's Conan after all. Listen, Kathy, thank you so much for giving me the time today and for being on this side of the camera. I know you do so much work for Big on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Big. You're watching Brookline Interactive Group. You're watching TV on TV. I'm Tommy Vitolo. I do this usually at the beginning, but it slipped my mind. So look, this is me, 617-872-8921. Email me at tommy.vitolo@mahouse.gov. I'm happy to respond to whatever's on your mind. And I hope on your mind is September 1st, primary day. Those interviews with all of the candidates are on the web. on the brooklineinteractive.org website. You can check out all of those interviews. Do your homework. Make sure you get your vote in, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. We know voting is so important, and we know community is so important. So thank you for tuning into our community. Thank you for watching Big, and we'll see you next week.